Allies of House Speaker Mike Johnson warning any effort to remove him as Speaker could delay the certification of the 2024 election. Lawmakers will hold a speakership vote January 3rd and will vote to certify the election on January 6th. If a speaker is not elected by that date, lawmakers cannot be sworn in and therefore cannot certify the election. Now, remember, it took about 3 weeks for Republicans to replace former Speaker Kevin McCarthy last year with Johnson. Texas Congressman Pat Fallon is urging President-elect Trump to reaffirm his support for Johnson, telling Fox News Digital Trump's endorsement would be incredibly powerful. Politico is also reporting that Trump is unhappy with Speaker Johnson, questioning whether Johnson is capable of managing the Republicans' razor-thin majority. Trump also felt blindsided by the first continuing resolution deal that Johnson struck with the Democrats. Lawmakers telling Maria whether or not Johnson should be removed. Watch.
I think that we need to stay the course. I mean, we had chaos when Kevin McCarthy was taken out, and Mike Johnson was somebody that all the different factions could support, and I don't see it being any different right now.
Rather than getting rid of the debt ceiling, you get a speaker with a spine who puts forward a spending plan that actually encourages conservatives like myself and some members of the Freedom Caucus to join on.
Are you saying you'll support Mike Johnson?
I think it's good to mix it up and let them know we are not happy with the job they're doing.
We need to back President Trump, and if President Trump is going to back Johnson, I'm sure that he will be the speaker.
I know there have been a number of members who have expressed interest in continuing the conversation about Speaker Johnson and where we go from here, but I think he's been working very hard to try to accommodate the needs of the individual House members and the priorities of the incoming administration.
Joining me now is North Carolina Congressman Greg Murphy. He's a member of the House Veterans Affairs, Ways and Means, and Administration Committees, and he's also the co-chair of the GOP Doctors Caucus. Congressman, good morning to you. Do you support...
Good morning, Cheryl.
And Merry Christmas. Do you support Mike Johnson?
I do. You know, the Speaker of the House is the most difficult job, and especially with many different factions within the Republican Party. We call them the five families, with very, very differing, sometimes theological bents. Some are in Biden 10 districts. Others are in R35 districts. And walking that line as a Speaker of the House is extremely difficult. And we have some folks, Cheryl, truth be told, wake up in the morning, and instead of saying, how can we get something done, they say, how can I obstruct and get on media? And that's extremely difficult. Mike has done, I believe, a very, very good job. Is it perfect? No, we're not going to get perfect. And some individuals literally just want to topple the House down for the sake of toppling the House down. He has done a very, very good job in trying to pull things together. And I think kicking him out and going through the same absolute chaos that Matt Gaetz started with McCarthy last session is absolutely wrong and does a horrible thing for President Trump's first 100 days. So let us stay the course. Let us actually have conversations. Let us actually do things and communicate. And let us not have people who go one off and then run off to the media to spout out their disliking of what the Speaker is.
No, Matt Gaetz is no longer in Congress. Look, let's talk about spending after this bruising CR fight that we just wrapped up on December 20th. And talk about where the cuts need to be. You know, Rand Paul says there's $1 trillion that you can cut. Listen to Rand Paul and where he says that DOJ can help and maybe where it can't. Watch.
Ultimately, it takes Congress. Congress has to get rid of the spending. DOJ can point out the spending problems and the waste the same way I've been pointing it out. But the reason it's not eliminated is they don't have the votes to get rid of the spending. About a year ago, there was a CHIPS bill, a bill to subsidize microchips, semiconductors in the United States. Well, in that bill, they doubled the size of the National Science Foundation. Now, the National Science Foundation is the one that's famous for doing a study on whether tequila or gin makes people more aggressive. So they fed fish, half of them tequila and the other half of the fish gin, and they decided which made the fish more aggressive. All the Democrats and half the Republicans voted to double the size of the National Science Foundation. So why is there more waste? Because the idiots in Congress keep giving them more money.
Congressman, your reaction to that?
You know, I'm not sure which tequila or gin is really best for the fish. But you know, what Rand Paul points out is some of the asinine funding things. The same thing with DEI funding at NIH. I believe it was $180 million to fund DEI initiatives within a science foundation. He's absolutely true. There are so many things that we have a target-rich environment. Medicare Advantage, for example, is bilking the government from hundreds of billions of dollars by upcoding and so many other things. There's target-rich environments. But also remember, Cheryl, we have entitlement spending. We have Medicare. We have Social Security, things that are sacrosanct, that are really our major drivers of where our debt is. And so where reform is needed, it is needed. And so you can't, you know, Rome was not built in a day. You can't change all of this overnight. We got rid of a lot of things. I voted for that CR because I live in North Carolina. Western North Carolina has been devastated, apocalyptic. Because of the hurricane, and I was not going to not vote against them. The same thing is with our farmers. Our farmers are literally on lifeline. And guess what? Food doesn't come from the grocery store. It comes from the farmer's field. And so we have to make priorities. And yeah, again, things are not done immediately. Let us get into the session. Let us start working with President Trump on his initiatives. Let us go through the appropriations bills. We could only get 5 out of 12 done in Congress last time because we had some individuals, because nothing's perfect for them, that were going to vote against anything. Let us get back in the process. Don't start the entire session with chaos again. Let us start it with orderly rule, and let us rule. We have 2 years really to put in President Trump's agenda. Let us do this and not fight amongst ourselves the entire time. I
want to ask you about immigration as well, Congressman, because California Governor Newsom reportedly is considering this plan to shield illegal immigrants from President-elect Trump's deportation plans. Politico has this draft memo they've obtained. It's called Immigrant Support Network Concept. Proposes regional hubs connect at-risk individuals, families, communities with systems such as legal services, schools, labor unions, local governments. Congress, you reacted to this on X. You accused Newsom of obstruction of justice and aiding and abetting. So I want to get your take on this and this push from not just Newsom, but we're seeing this at the local level as well in sanctuary cities.
You know, we have laws in this land, Cheryl, and President Biden and Vice President Harris decided that they were above the law. They didn't need to regard the law. And so, yeah, America spoke, and America gave a mandate to President Trump, the rule of law. Newsom has created his own little deficit spending debacle of a state. I believe there's $68 billion in debt now. And what he wants to do is basically break the law. You know, we saw this a long time ago when states didn't want to integrate and they wanted to continue with segregation. These are laws. These are national laws. He doesn't get to pick and choose which one he gets. Yeah, no, we're not going to send in the National Guard, but you know what? They get a lot of federal money. And if they want to have their state dry up even quicker because of his nasty policies, I don't think he lasts long. And this time when the recount comes, he's gone. You cannot keep flaunting and caring more about people who have come in this country illegally than the people of our own country. This is nonsense. These blue states the day is coming. They're going to rue the day. They're going to continue these asinine and ridiculous policies.
Well, let's stay with this because many self-proclaimed sanctuary states are seeing a massive surge in migrant populations. If you look at the latest Census Bureau data, the U.S. added a record 2.8 million migrants between 2023 and 2024. That is nearly 5 times as many that was added in 2019. Foreign migration over the past year has offset the amount of U.S. citizens leaving Democrat-run states like California, New York, and Illinois. So they're leaving these Democrat-run states, but what these Democratic-run states are doing is they're encouraging migrants to come in, of course, at the cost to taxpayers. Is this a politically motivated decision?
Cheryl, this was politically motivated from day one. This was politically motivated from day one to try to change the electoral college, to try to change populations in states. And if you look at, take New York, for example, look at what's going on in New York City. Finally, a lot of the blue Democrats are fighting back, saying this is nonsense. I think Lee Zeldin, the only reason he's not governor of New York right now is so many Republicans left New York. No, this is their nefarious plan to change the way that fundamentally change the way, as Obama said, transform the country. And they're to do it by illegal methods, illegal modes, and to try to bring people in where they should not be in.
Congressman Greg Murphy, great points from you. Thank you, sir. We'll be right back, everybody.
All right.